Welcome back to the 12-month video game repair challenge. This is episode 7. Let me go over the rules quickly and then I'll jump into the first repair of the month. First off, no debt. I start with $0 and I need to repair and sell items that I already have to make enough money to buy new parts and new items to fix. The goal is $10,000 in sales by the time I'm done too. Number 2 is I have a maximum of 7 hours a week to do any testing and repairs. Number 3 is there's no cost for supplies and tools I already own. And number 4 is to share everything. One summary video each month until the 12 months are done. Now on to the fixes. First up is this NES Game Genie cartridge. This item is from a bin that I've had laying around for ages, and it's time to clean out some of this old stuff. From what I remember about this unit, it wouldn't load games at all. So let's pop it open and clean up the pins first before I test it out. There are 4 hidden screws holding this top housing together, and since it's pretty beat up, I'm just going to cut into the labels to remove them. These pins are pretty dirty, so let me clean them up before we test it out. And as expected, nothing. I'm going to do a deeper clean on the pins to see if that helps before trying anything else. I've actually grown to like these little fiberglass scratch pins. I've been using them to clean up a bunch of different contacts now. At first, I really didn't like them, but they've proven to work out pretty well. I'm also going to wipe out this secondary slot too while I'm at it. Hopefully that'll get this thing working. Well, it kind of works. So after messing around with it a lot, I finally got it to load up to the code screen, but nothing afterwards. My guess is that it has something to do with the slot pins. I'm going to gently bend these pins a bit so that I can contact the cartridge a little bit better with them, and then give them another cleaning to see if that helps. I tested it again and still no change. Maybe a larger bend to the pins would help to get better contact. What do we have to lose? Also, I checked the board for any faults and didn't find anything, so it must be a pin-related issue. And still nothing. I tried adjusting the pins a few more times, but nothing seemed to get it 100% working. I guess this is another one for the scrap bin. On to some DS units I picked up a few months ago. This one won't turn on or charge at all, so let's test the battery to see if that's still good first. There's a small screw on the back holding the battery in place, and once that cover is off, the battery pops out easily. The terminals all look good, so that's a good sign. But how about the voltage on the battery? Let me demonstrate on a AA first. You can measure the voltage by touching the probes to both sides, and that should show roughly 1.5 volts for this unit. And it does. Now the DS battery shows nothing. So I'm guessing this is the problem. I picked up a replacement from XYAB and it's showing a little above 3.7 volts, which is good. So I popped it in and look at that. It turns on immediately. Now let's test some games. This thing probably hasn't been used in a while, which would explain why it doesn't work right away. I'm going to clean up the cartridge slots and test them again. And both game slots are working now after cleaning. Nice. I'll clean up the rest off camera and get it listed in the store shortly thereafter. I'd also like to send a big thank you to PCBWay for sponsoring today's video. PCBWay.com is a printed circuit board manufacturer that provides a wide variety of options for prototyping and assembly. PCBWay's 10th anniversary celebration has officially begun this month. By logging in, you'll get access to exclusive coupons and badges, participate in the lucky draw where you can win a bunch of cool gadgets, and even mark your location on the global map. Be sure to check out PCBWay.com for all the details. Now back to the fixes. Next up is the other DS that I had that just won't turn on even though its battery did charge up. It just flickers on for a moment before turning off again. This battery is testing well, so it's not that issue again. I read somewhere that if these units don't detect their screens properly, they can turn quickly on and off, just like how this one is. So let me grab another old damaged DS screen from the one that I had previously repaired and see if that fixes the problem. And there you have it. The old ribbon cable must have gone bad for the top screen and it needs to be replaced. I picked up a new one and installed it a few days later. Shockingly, unlike the last time I swapped out the top screen, this one went together on the first try. I was very surprised, as you can see. But if you want to watch a full breakdown on how to swap out a top screen on a DS Lite, check out this video right here. Once I put everything back together, it was working great. Or so I thought. The touchscreen on the left side of the bottom screen barely registers, and I went through several calibrations, but nothing was helping the situation. So I bought a replacement touchscreen too. It's really too bad, but I couldn't find a replacement black edge screen protector though. I guess this one will be stuck with the scratched up version. I got the new digitizer in place and was reinstalling the cables when this happened. Well, guess what just popped off when I was installing the digitizer? Yep. That little itty bitty door right there in order to lock that cable in place just popped off. I've tried putting it back in multiple times. It's not going back in. So this one, unfortunately, gets postponed again until I could potentially find that piece as a replacement But I don't know if I'm actually going to find another one of those as a replacement, and may need to scavenge from another board in order to do it. So unfortunately, this might be a dead project for the time being. Unfortunately, I'll have to put this black DS into the scrap bin for now, but I have plenty more projects that need fixing. Enter this copy of Pokemon Red that I bought recently and was non-working. The letters are all jumbled up in the Nintendo logo and it just won't play. This should be a quick fix though. I cleaned the pins and did a quick reheat on the chip legs for the ROM and tested it out again. It started up right away, and even had a working save battery. I ended up swapping out the battery for a new one since it was a bit old and listed the cartridge in the store shortly thereafter. If you'd like a full breakdown on the swap of save batteries for these units, you can check out this video right here. I also picked up 2 more Game Boy games for repairs this month too that had similar problems. I got a copy of Tetris and Kirby's Dream Land for pretty cheap, and both were having some problems loading. I gave both a quick cleaning before testing, and the insides were super clean already, but did get a little dirt off the pins yet. Kirby just wasn't loading at all. But Tetris popped right up. It worked great, and I even played a few games before fixing up Kirby. For this one, I reheated the ROM chip legs just like with the Pokemon cartridge, and it seemed to fix the issues completely. Both of these are now working and ready to be listed in the store. On to another few old items I've had sitting around. This Xbox 360 controller's left stick is drifting a bit, so let's investigate it further. I got it cracked open and the board was a little dirty, so I cleaned that up before moving on to the stick. It feels good, but most of the sticks that drift still do feel good. I'm going to pop out the potentiometer and give it a little cleaning. These contacts on the inside of the gray housing and on the small disc can get a little dirty and cause some of these drift issues. These are very fragile, so you have to be careful, but you could pry these parts out and clean both sides. I'm using some high percentage IPA, but let's give it a test now that these are all clean. And it's working well. This is a cheap fix that works in some cases, but also just saved me a boatload of time since I don't need to swap the stick out. On to the next 3. I had a few more of these left over from the past month's purchases, and these were pretty easy fixes as well. The first one has a sticky start button. I cracked it open to find what I'm assuming is soda all over the button slot, and once it was clean, it was working well again. The next one had some similar issues to the first 360 controller, where it had some drift, but it was just on the right stick. Popped open the pot and cleaned all the parts inside. It was working well after testing, and I added another one to the fix pile. The last one had a small issue of the left bumper button not always registering when pressed. This turned out to be an easy fix too, since the housing was just not fully snapped in place and wasn't always contacting the button on the board. Once it was pushed a millimeter closer, it was much more reliable. You could even hear the sound difference too. Now on to addressing another lingering old issue, the green Xbox controller that was returned. As I showed in last month's video, this controller sometimes works and sometimes not, and only half of the buttons work sometimes too. If you're playing a game, it seems like it's working fine, but if you're in the menus, not so much. I'm wondering if this is a cord issue based on that. So I swapped out the original cord with another brand new one to see if that would fix the problem. Got a brand new cord on this thing, and the D-pad works. That's still nothing, and nothing. This is one of the weirdest problems, and it randomly is disconnecting. Unfortunately, it didn't fix the issue, and I tested a few more traces on the board, but sadly found nothing wrong. Unfortunately, I think this is another one for spare parts bin. Next up is an excellent looking Wii controller that has battery corrosion. Such a common issue. These are a pain to take apart too. They have 4 screws towards the bottom, but have clips holding them together at the top. A spudger is an absolute must to open these if you don't want to gouge up the plastic. Thankfully, this one doesn't have much buildup on the board or on the contacts attached to the board either. Some light cleaning fixed these right up. The other battery terminal can be removed by popping it loose from the back of the rear housing. I cleaned up the rest of the corrosion with IPA and snapped everything back into place to test it out. It tested well off camera, but it went into the bin of extra tested controllers for when I get another Wii console. That way I can have a complete bundle to sell all together. Next up is another similar problem, but for something that when fixed, will be going into my own personal collection, since I wanted another one of these. It's a rumble pack for an N64, but it has some pretty nasty corrosion, so I'm going to take it completely apart to deep clean the insides. It looks like the corrosion went really deep inside this unit, and I'm going to have to replace these wires too. I'm going to scrape off all these big chunks of corrosion so that I can take out the battery terminals to clean them properly. The wires are so badly corroded that they just fell off too. I got most of the solder off of the ends of the terminals so I can push them through the mounting holes. After some wiggling on the ends, they popped out too. I'll get these soaking in some vinegar while I clean up the rest of the parts. These turned out pretty good after some cleaning, and I reinstalled them into the battery housing. The rest of the board was pretty dirty, so I got that cleaned up and soldered in the 2 new wires for the battery terminals. These also got reattached to the battery housing too. I also added a bit more solder to the rumble pack wires before twisting up the new wires and getting everything put back together. This unit ended up working great and is now being used as a backup in my personal collection.
Alright, moving stuff in my garage, cleaning stuff out, and look what I found. A couple broken pieces. This one was from a long time ago that had a bad CPU, but these other ones in here probably could get fixed potentially. Oh, not that one. That one's pretty messed up. But the other Xbox units, and maybe even this other... Oh, look at that. It still had the price tag on it. Maybe even this PS1 could get fixed. I don't know. We'll take a look at some point here. Hopefully they can.
Here's a lot that I just found in my garage. So these two most likely are toast. So this one has nothing in it. There's no board, nothing like that. I had taken this out of here a long time ago and replaced it with another one because there was some really bad corrosion issues, and this is just a spare case. So this one will probably end up going to the spare parts bin. This one had a bad CPU, and even though it does have the board in there, it's just toast. This one had some disk reading issues, but the top closes nice. I might need to look into that a little bit more. This was just a junk pile. It's missing screws, it's all broken, missing the front, stained. Yeah, I don't know if there's much that you can really do with this. It's pretty messed up on the inside and not even complete, so I may end up putting this one to my junk pile as well. But these two, this one has a note on the back that says that it has a slow disk drive, so maybe some capacitors are in the future for this one. And this one was modded, but it red rings every once in a while, so I'll need to look into both of these, and these could probably get fixed. This one could probably get fixed. These three probably go into the junk pile. So I was going through a couple more spare parts bins, and I happened to find two more controllers that I know are broken, but I haven't really done anything with them. I didn't write on the back what these were broken from or what issues they had at all, but I'll end up having to look into these because I'm short on controllers. But I also found this when I was looking around. Now, this controller isn't really worth a lot of money. There's not much value in it whatsoever, but the thumbsticks, each of these thumbsticks look like the Duke ones. So if they have the same bottom pieces, these might be able to be used as replacements for a Duke controller. So I'll end up opening up this at some point, seeing if they are the same, and yeah, hopefully they do work out. Hey, I just got another package in, and this time it's from the CATRP Crew. If you guys haven't checked out the CATRP Crew, or if you don't know who Chase is from Chase After the Right Price, I would highly recommend checking them out. I'll put a link in the description, but I happened to watch their Whatnot last week, and I ended up buying some controllers, which I'll open up now. Some of them might be good, some of them might not be, but we'll find out. All right, here's what's inside. So some of them have little notes on them, which is kind of nice, but I'm sure these wouldn't be too difficult to fix. So that one had a down arrow not working. This one just says it doesn't work. And I'm not sure if these notes are from them. I'm assuming they're not. It might have been from another lot that they had purchased, and they just wanted to get rid of it really quick. So start button broken. And this one can't sync, but it powers on. So that one might be a quick little cleaning job. We'll see. Nothing on this one. This one might actually work, but obviously needs a thumbstick. And this one, nothing there. Looks pretty good, but definitely needs some cleaning. And yeah, we'll check that one out. Then the ones that I actually bought it for, no notes, but you guys are pretty familiar with me fixing Xbox controllers, so I needed a couple extra ones because I'm running low for my Xbox bundles that I put together for eBay. So these are good. That would be great. Same thing with this one. This would be great if this one looks nice on the inside. So yeah, it looks pretty good on the outside. May or may not work, but we'll check it out. And what's even better is it actually has its quick disconnects, which is fabulous. Most of these people will rip them off, sell them, or they're missing altogether. So it's nice that both of these have them. But excellent. A couple more things to go through. Oh, and really quick before I forget, I only paid like 20 bucks for this whole thing, for all of these pieces. All those controllers and this, It was like 20 bucks. All right, so one controller is just doing this. It's just moving around. I don't know if it's this that's causing the drift or if it's this stick here, but whenever you use the buttons, it seems like it's working. So I'll take a look at that. Plus the cord here is pretty messed up. It's got a cut in it, so that's gonna have to get replaced, but not a huge deal. All right, so this controller is actually working really good. You can use all the buttons, you can move easily. Ironically, it's because the quick disconnect went bad. Why did it go bad? There was a spider sac inside of it, so I might even be able to clean that out. I don't know if you can see that in there, but I crushed whatever was in there, shoving it into the controller port, but if I can clean the contacts in there, this would probably be good. I just used the other quick disconnect from the first controller, and it started right up, no problems. So, hey, just a quick disconnect cord. That's pretty easy. After looking at this for a second time, I realized there's a bunch of rust underneath this plastic part. Now, I'm sure you could probably disconnect this and take it apart and everything, but these are like $1, so I'm gonna just toss it. Let's dive into getting the Duke fixed up. I clipped off the end of the cord so it would be easier to work with since it just needs a replacement anyway. I soldered in a used good one that I had in my stash of spare parts and found out something interesting. All right, so funny story. Apparently, you can't use S-controller replacement or controller pieces on the Duke because it's a little short there. So I guess I gotta get a brand new one. That sucks. I was hoping to keep the green. Oh well. Hey, I searched through my bin and guess what I found? A green controller cord. And it is a little bit longer, so it's for a Duke. Perfect. There we go. That's much better. I also took out the pod and the drifting stick to clean it since these were very dirty. There was a good amount of what looks like carbon on the contacts, but cleaned them up and tested it out again. Well, I don't know what I did, but yeah, it's not working at all now. After some probing, it turns out there are a few broken traces on the back of the board. The connection points for the left stick are the main issues, and 2 of them have broken away from their traces. I scraped some of the solder mask away from the traces and added a little extra solder to bridge the gap between the pad and the trace for both points. And thankfully this was a good housing because it went back together without any cracking. There we go. That's much better. Alright, I just got done testing both of these controllers. This one has a bad cord. It's just disconnecting right here, which that's going to be a quick replacement. I'll get to that in just a second. This one actually was working really well. It just has really bad thumbsticks and is quite a bit dirty. And it has like these marks on the side and everything. So if I clean this up and swap out the thumbsticks, then this one should be all good to go, which is great. So I'm going to get on that right now. I wanted to get some of this old stuff I found finished up and decided to get these last 2 controllers fixed up right away too. The cord swap was pretty easy, and if you want a full explanation on how to do it for yourself, check out this video right here. I did a pretty solid clean out of my garage, so I doubt I'll be finding any more odds and ends, but it's funny to me that I had stuff stashed all over the place. And swapping out the thumbstick ends for this other controller was a super quick fix as well. And I just tested both of them and they're both working great. This one brand new cord, this one brand new thumbsticks. Now, I just got to clean them up a little bit and they can go into the stash for future Xboxes that will be fixed with either the capacitors or other problems that I end up fixing. So, great. Alright, so I went rummaging through my stuff and I happened to find out that I had a Mario Kart 64 in there with missing pins. That one's dead, but I happen to have an NH99 that happened to have the back panel missing, but the board was still in there, and it seems like it is the exact same code or the type of board as the Mario Kart 64 board. So if this one works, which, let's turn this on because I put it in there, and look at that, it does. That might mean I can swap the chip in.
Sports, it's in the game.
Yes, it is in the game. That means I might be able to switch the chip from the Mario Kart 64 into this board and make it work again. So let's see. A special thank you goes out to one of my viewers from the last video. I'm Pretentious, love the name by the way, posted a comment on how to find the forums that hold the N64 board scans. I think I had this site saved years ago, but lost it when I transferred to a new PC, and now I have it bookmarked again. I'll leave a link in the description for everyone, but it's a website of board scans and labels. For my use, I'll be looking up what other cheaper boards I can use as a replacement to transfer the ROM chip to, since the pins on the current cartridge are destroyed. Ironically, after looking through my old bins, I found a few more N64 games that were missing parts, like the back panels. I also found this copy of NHL 99 that happens to be the exact same board that I need. Maybe I bought this years ago as a replacement for Mario Kart, but I just never got around to fixing it. I don't even remember. But I'm happy I have it now. This replacement board is in excellent shape, and the first step is to start removing the parts I need to transfer to it. I'll be sure to do a full guide on this process at some point in the future, but here are some of the highlights. You need to carefully remove each of the large ROM chips from their boards. You also need a few spare parts like an extra resistor and the other smaller chip from the Mario Kart board too. Then transfer them all over to the new board and solder them down. I double checked to make sure all my solder joints were good and popped it back into its original housing to test it out. Alright, here we go. Moment of truth. Anything? Nope. Grab this. Second. Huh? Yeah, there we go. No, maybe. There it is. It tested well, but now on to the cleaning of the cartridge. The metal shielding is in really rough shape, but the original shielding from the NHL cartridge doesn't fit in the Mario Kart housing, unfortunately. I also rummaged around and found a replacement rear housing, but it was really discolored, and even though the original has some label damage, I think it looks better. I cleaned up some of the sticker residue on the sides with some Goo Gone and wiped down the rest of the label with some glass cleaner before calling it done. I think it turned out really great. But on to some more testing, just to make sure everything is fine. I played through a whole race and it worked great throughout the entire run. If I didn't already have a copy of this game, I'd be keeping it, but I'm sure the new owner will be really happy with it. On to some more Xbox console repairs. This first one was very dirty, but it was working. Whoever I got this unit from shipped it to me inside of a mound of shredded paper. Where this may sound like a good idea to provide cushion during shipping, unfortunately it's not. The dust and the small pieces made it inside the unit, and before I did any other testing, I took it outside to blow all these little pieces out. It came clean, but the shielding was still pretty rusty around the unit. The next unit was another easy fix with a sticky disk drive. I popped out the drive and swapped in a new pulley band, and it was working great again. Also needed to do some cleaning on the dusty insides as well as removing the clock cap, but that's a given for every one of these units now. The final holdover unit from last month was working, but it was just a bit loud. The main fan or something inside sounded really loud in comparison to the previous systems. So I opened it up and found this.
Alright, so I just opened up this one with the loud fan and everything. What and why does it have an extra power connector specifically for the fan when it can be plugged in right at the bottom right there? That's kind of weird, so I'm gonna take it apart and find out. And it's missing some screws. That's weird. So yeah, it looks like it has the other ones. Disk drive hasn't been opened, so a little bit of a mystery. That's weird. All right, I got it opened and blown out completely, and this is just really strange that someone, or maybe the factory did this. That would just be very strange. Why they wouldn't have just plugged this in right in that corner right there instead of using a separate connector like this to power it straight from the main cable. That's really bizarre. So I'll plug it into the normal location. This clock cap is definitely dead too. It's a little leaky. So I'll rip that out. I'll plug that back in and see if this still starts the fan. Maybe this connector in the back there was broken, or maybe there was some other problem with it, but I guess we'll find out. Alright, I got that plugged in and the clock cap removed and cleaned up, so let's go test it out. Alright, this is the one that's loud, and it seems like it's doing fine. This back fan here is running. The internal CPU fan that's right about here is running. I kind of pried this up and took a look.
And it seems like it's a lot quieter now too. So I have no idea why that connector was there, but it doesn't seem like it was doing anything because I can access the hard drive, the disk drive works, everything's fine. I swapped the little belt in the front there, so I'm gonna call this one good because it's displaying perfectly fine. So good deal. All right, this one's working good too. Since I replaced the belt, it pops in and out. No problems whatsoever. And yeah, has a full travel path. But what's interesting is it's soft modded, so it does have emulators already built onto it, which is pretty neat. All of them ended up working great and loaded up games well during testing. All right, I got all 3 of these fixed up. Now I just gotta clean them, which is gonna take a minute because these are really gross. So on to that next. And done. All of them look good. Ready to get listed. Excellent. I moved on to some more older units in an effort to get through a majority of what I have left and found this one. All right, just opened up this one and it is very clean inside again. It's very surprising. The fan has a little bit of wear on it, but this cap is a little bulged on the top, so I'm gonna end up replacing that. And yeah, these are all bad too. I swapped out all the large caps as well as the clock cap for this unit and tested it out again. It turned on and booted up right away too, even had a disk inside. Nice. The next one has an error 12, which I had to look up, but it relates to something being wrong with the disk drive. It could be an issue with the cables or even something on the drive board itself. Ribbon cable looked good, as does this one, but maybe they went bad. I'll swap them and see what happens. All right, so I've swapped the ribbon cable. I've swapped the yellow little data cable there, and nothing worked. But I swapped in a Phillips drive that was non-working and turned on. So there must be something wrong with this Samsung drive. I didn't see anything wrong with it at a glance, but I swapped out the drive band so when I finally do dig into it, at least it will open. After doing some research on it later, it looks like there could be an issue with one of the resistor arrays on the board. I'll look into this further another time, but at least I have a place to start looking for faults. In addition to this one non-working, I also came across a stretch of non-working disk drives that I figured might happen. I'd been saving these along with a few others for some of the units that I would fix last. One after another wasn't working, and I couldn't get a single one of them to work even after cleaning. Some didn't even work after trying the hairdryer trick too. So after I was done cleaning, I had 8 in total that I couldn't fix immediately due to their disk drives going bad for one reason or another. I even swapped out some of the Thompson boards with one that I had already replaced the caps on, and still nothing was working. This most likely means that it is a laser eye issue and cannot be fixed without replacement parts. But I'll pick up some more cap kits for these other units and hopefully that will fix more of them. Before I did, I was testing some of the boards to make sure they didn't have any other faults, and this happened. So I was just going to start testing this board to see if any of the capacitors are bad, and this is awkward. I bought another multimeter a few days later, but started working on the next broken unit to see if I could fix something without the need of this specific tool. Well, here's an interesting one. No video. Let's open it up. All right, I just opened this one up. It has a normal amount of dust and everything. Clock cap, most likely bad. And at quick glance, these capacitors look fine, except for this one right here has a little bulge. So these are totally fine, but this one on the end has a little problem, so that one will probably need to get replaced. But rather than just replacing one, might as well do the whole bank. So let me get to that. I swapped the caps and ripped out the bad clock cap before testing it again, which unfortunately didn't go so well. All right, so this one's dead completely. I've got to possibly reformat this hard drive. Even though I replaced the capacitors on this, it still comes up with red and green in the front, the flashing lights, which I looked it up really quick, and it looks like that is a major malfunction issue, most likely relating to the hard drive. I was hoping that the motherboard would fix it if I fixed up the caps on there, but it didn't. So this one, most likely dead for now.
The bonus here is that it had a working Thomson disk drive, so that got swapped into another console, and that one is working. This one, not so much.
Another one that's not working so much is this one. The power button doesn't work and it's having trouble staying on too. After a quick check, I found the disk drive isn't completely plugged in, and once I tested it again, it started right up. The problem still stands that the power button isn't working though. After a closer inspection inside, the clock cap really burst everywhere, and I also found some trace rot on the bottom of the board too. Pretty easy fix with some magnet wire and a bit of cleaning. I swapped in a new drive band and tested it out. It booted right up and the disk drive was working well now too. Since I'd like to have 3 fixed at one time, I'm going to try to fix one more. This one has 0 feedback from the controller ports, but I found the issue quickly.
This daughter board feels a little bit loose, but I'm just going to kind of push it back in, see if I can seat it fully, and test this one out again. Hopefully it'll work. Got it plugged in, see if it'll work.
Oh, look at that. Yep.
And since it has a Phillips drive, it works great. Alright, got 3 more Xboxes done and working. The only problem is they are insanely dirty. This one especially. This one's not so bad. I guess this one's not terrible. This one's more just dusty, but I'm going to clean these up, and unfortunately I am running low on controllers, so I only have 3 controllers left that I've had sitting around tested. I might need to dip into the other ones that I had fixed and replace the cords on, but we'll see. So let me clean these up and get to that. Alright, all cleaned up and ready to go. Can you tell which one was the really dirty one?
I'm so close to being done with all of these units, so I pushed ahead and attempted another one.
So not only is this one full of random cobwebs and things like that, but it also smells like a dank basement. Really gross. But this is my other favorite thing that I just found. It's in that corner right there. Pretty sure that's a cockroach. Or dead one. And yeah, got another little casing right there. So yeah, this is gonna get packed back up and get put into a freezer for weeks and weeks. Then I'll deal with it later. Alright, I just took this one out of the freezer, so I don't know if I'm actually going to fix this one because it's got all the nasty stuff in it. I might just postpone that and do it a different day, but I took out the disk drive and I put this one in a separate bag that I ziplocked and taped shut. But I'm going to let this one heat up, because if this one can work, this I can replace into one of my other ones, and if I can replace that into one of my other ones and it works, then I've got another whole unit that's ready to go.
Even though this drive is from the Roach Xbox, it's surprisingly clean inside. I would just feel better if it was thoroughly clean, because you never know what can get into these. I did a deep clean on the unit and it smelled much better afterwards too.
Alright, I got this Samsung drive cleaned up from the cockroach infested one, and it's looking really clean, really good. It is playing a disc, and it is loading.
This one loaded up and played without any issues, so I moved on to the next one. Only a few more left.
Alright, this unit loads Halo without any issues. If we can eject here. There we go. This unit loads Halo without any issues whatsoever. Have a good disk in here, but at the end of it, it will just cut it off once it's about 99% loaded, which tells me the capacitors are probably going in this. So I'll probably end up replacing the capacitors in this disk drive, and that will probably fix the problem. All the ports work and it displays nicely, so hopefully that'll fix it. Alright, so this is another really clean one. This is the one with the drive that is having issues running completely. But these capacitors, they're a little bubbled up on top. Not bad, but I should probably replace them just because I'm in here, might as well. But this is really rare. This clock cap looks great. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. There's no leaking, there's no other problems. It's not You don't see like a big pool around it or anything like that. Still gonna rip it out, but yeah, it's just weird to see.
I swapped in a few new caps for the motherboard and swapped out the disk drive board with one of them that I had previously changed the caps on to.
Alright, so loaded up a game. It's got Halo in right now. It's running. This is the one with the new caps. Definitely running. Now, can we go to a game? Now before, it got about halfway, maybe a little bit more than that, and then it kind of crapped out. There it is. Looks like it's working well. Alright, not much cleaning to do on both of these units. They already are pretty clean. This one only has a little bit of dust in between here, but I'll give it a nice once over on both of these, and they'll be good to go online.
After I got done with these, I only have a handful of Xbox units left to open up and dig into. So I would say this month was a success, even though I wasn't able to fix everything. Now I can start digging into some of the other consoles I've been waiting to fix, or even some of the older projects that I started months ago. We'll see what happens, but on to the sales for this month.
Alright, had a pretty good weekend of sales. So sold this DS for about 45 bucks. This is the one that I swapped the battery on. It was in rough shape, so that's why I sold it cheap, but I threw a extra new battery charger in with it. Sold this Xbox console bundle with the Thompson drive that had the new caps put into it for about 120 bucks. And then this one had new caps completely because it's a 1.6 model. I also swapped out the clock cap for a brand new one, and that one sold for about 140. So, good weekend. Hey, just sold another Xbox. This one was soft modded and had a replacement drive band, if I remember correctly, as well. I cleaned it out, did a couple things to it, but it sold for about 150 bucks. And this copy of Tetris sold for about 20. Hey, just sold Starshot for about 95 bucks. Pretty awesome. I'll be going out today. Hey, just made another sale. Sold this Xbox that had the clock cap removed and new drive caps put in for about 135 bucks. And I also sold this copy of Mario Kart 64. I had the RIP label on the back, so it went for about 40. But yeah, good deal. Hey, just sold another Xbox unit for about 125 bucks. Came with all the cords and cables, and this one had no clock cap and a brand new drive belt put in too. So, excellent. Alright, last item sold of the month, the Pokemon Red cartridge. It's in really great shape and has the replaced battery for about 68 bucks. Excellent.
Also, right at the end of the month, I finished up a refresh that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Here's a little preview of it, but be sure to look out for the full video released in a few weeks. I'm super happy I was able to finish up some of these old items I've had sitting around forever and ever. Some didn't get completely fixed, but that's okay. I'm still making progress. And I actually used the exact number of hours for this month too. Honestly, I just barely made it though. If you've made it this far in the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next fix.